What's up, guys? I wanted to give you my thoughts on the fight between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor, and it was a fascinating fight and a brilliant performance by Dustin Poirier. I think a lot of times when we see certain performances, or whether they're victories or failures, I think a major difference is when a fighter knows who they are and what kind of strengths they can bring to the table. And I think that there was perhaps a misinterpretation or a confusion on the part of Conor's team, and maybe Conor himself more specifically, during the fight, to not bring out what I think is what makes him special and unique. Those things for me, is his creativity in the moment. And I think more importantly, his movement, his ability to get in and get out. I thought that's what was going to be the difference. His footwork, of course, that's what allows him to do that, to strike, to get in and get out and be evasive. And he really wasn't able to do that. When you're dealing with 4-ounce gloves, and even in boxing, if you're dealing with boxing gloves, if you're staying in that close range, you're kind of throwing the dice, right? I mean, it doesn't take much for a 4-ounce glove to take effect on you. But more importantly, what Dustin Poirier did brilliantly, based on Conor's very wide stance, is, when you have a wide stance, you have excellent stability and you have excellent balance, but you might sacrifice some mobility. So you can't really move in and out so well because you're so low to the ground. And Dustin Poirier took full advantage of that, kicking out that lead leg. Since they're both southpaws, they're both left-handed stance fighters, Dustin Poirier was really able to land that calf kick repeatedly, and we've seen that as such a devastating weapon. And when you're able to do that, you can limit where your opponent can go in the fight, right? And I think that anytime you're able to limit your opponent's movement, or if I am limiting my own movement, I'm being controlled. I can't go wherever I want. If you look at, the United States military, for example, there's a lot of things that make them powerful. But in my opinion, one of those things that makes them so capable as a military force is the fact that we can bring our power wherever we want in a very, very fast amount of time. So, with aircraft carriers or military bases or submarines, or the various forces that we have all over the world, if there is a conflict, we can get there quicker than anybody, and then we can bring our power to that place. So it's one thing if I have a lot of power, but if I can't bring that power to where I need it, then it's useless. So the key component here is movement. So I think that's something we forget a lot, and I don't think Conor was utilizing his movement extremely well. He was very flat-footed. He was creeping in, thinking he was going to turn it into a boxing match, and of course it's mixed martial arts. Dustin Poirier wasn't having any of that, and took out his lead leg, kicked that calf, and now Conor's leg was completely compromised, which made his movement compromised. Now he couldn't just move in and land the shots that he wanted. And even worse, we forget, it's not just about getting in, it's about getting out as well. That's what makes an Air Force, or a capable or dangerous Air Force, so deadly. Not only can they deliver a payload, not only can they deliver a missile, a bomb, but they don't stick around to let it affect them or for the enemy to counter back. They land that missile, they let that missile drop on you, and then they're gone. So it's such an advantage. And for Conor, once his leg was compromised, okay, maybe he's landing some shots on Dustin and he was able to hurt him a couple times, but now he can't effectively get away when he needs to get away. And that's a major problem. The Comanche War against the United States lasted almost 40 years. This was probably 1836 to like 1875, I think. And the Comanches, what made them so devastating as a fighting force, as a Native American tribe, as a warrior culture, was the fact that they had mastered the horse, okay? And it allowed them to get in and get out. They were able to do a tremendous amount of damage. Not only that, they had mastered the horse to the fact that they could actually shoot their arrow from a full gallop. So they could be going at full speed and they could shoot a man dead from about 30 yards. Back then in the 1800s, that was such an advantage to be able to do that. Again, they were often marauding at night, when most people were sleeping. They did it at moonlight so they could see a little bit. But they were a surprising force, and they were able to get in and get out on those horses. And that's what made them such a devastating fighting force. They could strike you with tremendous speed. What was that speed? What was the key component to that? It was the horse. And for what many people deem to be an uncivilized, tribe or group of people, they were able to go 40 years in battle, maybe not consistently, but had various battles throughout those 40 years with the United States Army military. So that's impressive. The key component to that was the horse. They had revered the horse. They felt they were one with the horse, and they truly were when they fought with the horse. Eventually, the Americans kind of figured it out, and they said, well, if we were going to limit these guys, the way we're going to do it kind of in two ways. First, they removed their food source, which was the buffalo. And as brutal as that is, they killed much of their food source. So they eliminated much of the buffalo, which the Comanche tribe at the time, used for clothing, food, et cetera, et cetera. And number two, they eliminated their horses. They figured out, okay, well, these guys are just so damn dominant with their horse. They could actually shoot by actually straddling the horse. They would actually instead of riding on top of the horse, they would actually be able to fall to the side of it, be hidden by the horse, and shoot underneath the neck of the horse. Again, at full speed, at full gallop, which was a tremendous skill. So what the United States military did was they just started shooting at the horses. They started killing the horses, and they killed well over 1,000 horses. And now that weakened them tremendously. They no longer had their advantage, which was movement, which was speed, the ability to get in and get out. And if you're able to do that, again, in any level of combat, if you can slow the enemy down and limit them in how they can get in and get out, that creates an advantage for you. And if you have that ability to be fast and get in and get out, you don't want to limit yourself. And I felt like Conor's approach was such that, creeping in like that and trying to turn into a boxing match gave Dustin too much of an advantage. And I feel like Dustin just used more weapons because of it. He was using leg kicks. He was using takedowns. He was using punches. And he was mixing it up. Whereas Conor was just trying to really approach from a boxing perspective. And yes, he has the advantage boxing-wise, but it's not a boxing match. And Dustin Poirier knew that better than Conor did last night. So those are my thoughts. I kind of wanted to go off on a tangent and give you guys some examples of that. But I'm definitely going to be talking a lot more about this and breaking things down on the Anakin Florian podcast. John is getting back from Abu Dhabi, I think tonight, or I believe tonight, and we'll be doing the podcast on Monday or Tuesday morning, I believe, actually. So anyways, we'll be talking about it more on the Anakin Florian podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking out the YouTube channel. I appreciate you guys. It's been growing a lot over the last month and a half. And if you guys can, pass along the word about the YouTube channel, subscribe, get those notifications going, I'd appreciate it. So thank you guys.